With the holidays just around the corner, friends, family, food, and drink are going to be plentiful. So what better way to impress your people than by bringing a homemade pumpkin pie to Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner? To make this pie, we're going to need ingredients like a pumpkin, a pie crust, some basic spices, eggs, and a pie tin. So let's run to the store real quick and grab those things. Okay, step one, turn your oven on, set it for 350. So, making pumpkin pies, you want to use a smaller pumpkin. These are actually called pumpkin pie pumpkins. These yield about two cups of pureed pumpkin. You don't want to use the big ones that you get at Halloween. Those will make far too much pumpkin. So just as any other pumpkin, you want to use a sharp knife, and I always just come in just like you do with the pumpkins at Halloween. Cut a hole in the top, make things a little easier. So I'm just going to go at it from one side at a time. Some people cook it with the seeds and the innards in. I'm going to go ahead and scrape mine out. I think it just makes it a little bit easier once you've baked it. Alright, once you've got the seeds all cleaned out and cleaned off the floor, go ahead and grab you some foil, cookie sheet, and place the pumpkins skin side up. Okay, once your oven is to temperature, you want to go ahead and grab the pumpkin, put them in the oven. Bake time, I'm going to do at least 40 minutes. So we will come back in 39 minutes and 59 seconds. Alright, I've let these sit for a couple minutes, and then what you want to do is take a fork and just score the pumpkin. If you've ever cooked spaghetti squash, this is kind of the same way that you would remove the meat from the spaghetti squash. Man, even at 10 minutes, the pumpkin is still pretty warm. But it's coming out nicely. And if you're wondering about my finger, I cut it with a potato peeler. Took the tip of my finger off as well as some of the fingernail. So I've got that thing all covered up. It's healing, but it's quite a mess. Anyways, go ahead and do both halves of your pumpkin like this, and I'm just gonna put all the meat in a bowl here just to keep it off the cutting board so I have room to work. Alright, so I've gone ahead and removed all the meat from the pumpkins. As you can see, that does make more than 2 cups, but 2 cups is what the recipe calls for, and we're going to go ahead and measure it out specifically to 2 cups and then put it in the blender to emulsify it. Alright, next we want to put your lid on the Ninja or your food processor and blend this down to almost a puree. So once you've got your pumpkin to a puree, go ahead and transfer it over to a bowl so that you can start mixing all the other ingredients. Okay, next you want to add in the whole can of condensed milk. The recipe I originally used called for 2 eggs, but if you've ever noticed that there's big cracks on the top of pumpkin pies, it is because there is 2 eggs. Pro tip, use 3. Next, you want to add 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. That's about 3/4 of a cup. 1 teaspoon of ground ginger. 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. 1 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves. And 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Alright, next get your blender out and blend up the puree and all the other ingredients. For my pies, I always just go to the store and buy the pre-made pie crust. Unless you like making your own homemade pie crust. Be careful when you're unrolling it. You do not want to tear a hole in it. If you tear a hole in it, the pie filling will seep through that hole, and then you'll have a soggy crust. I've never tried making my own crust. Maybe that's something I'll do next year. But just for the sake of ease, I usually just buy my own crust. What I'm doing here is I'm pushing the pie crust to the edge of the tin. You want it to be nice and smooth on the edge around the tin. You don't want to press too hard. Again, you could tear a hole in it. And you will have a little bit of crust hanging over. Some people snip it. What I tend to do is, let's see if I can get in here with the big camera. I just take my middle finger and push it in towards the pie tin and pinch it with my thumb and index finger. So next what we want to do is take your pie filling after you've beat it well with your mixer. Slowly pour it into the pie crust. Like I said, 1 pumpkin will make one pie. And if you want to make 2 pies, just double the recipe. So earlier when we were cooking the pumpkin, we had it at 350. We want to go ahead and bump the temperature up to 425. Okay, oven's at 425. We're gonna put the pie in for 15 minutes. Alright, once the timer goes off, drop your baking temperature back to 350 and cook, or you reset your timer for 40 minutes. Alright, there she is. I'm going to need both my hands on this one. Alright, and then we'll just let that sit for about 2 hours and cool down.
2 hours later.
And there you go. Pumpkin pie, homemade. And all it needs now is whipped cream. Alright, now for the taste test. I'm excited about this part. Man, I can't say enough about how easy this is. The crust has turned out really nice. It's not too thick, it's not too thin. It's not a soggy crust. The pumpkin pie itself has nice texture. It's kind of like that hard pudding consistency that you want in a pumpkin pie. And now I guess comes the most important part. Tons of flavor, tons of flavor. Let's try it with some of that whipped cream. I tell you what, you'll be the star of Thanksgiving with this recipe. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Please like and subscribe. Be sure to hit the bell for notifications of future videos. And comment below on what you think of the pumpkin pie and maybe some changes that you made or how it turned out. I'd like to get your feedback on it. All the ingredients and instructions will be listed below in the comment section. Until next time, happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.